All right, I'm gonna try to make this relatively short. I just wanted to, quickly speak on a couple of subjects real quick. Um, one of those one of those subjects, I should say, for lack of better words, would be, this whole flat Earth thing. All right, because that's a hot topic right now, and truthfully, for anybody who's actually looked into this stuff for a number of years, you know that the flat Earth topic, first hit the internet by storm in 2016. Right, everybody was talking about flat Earth back then. And that's when I started to look into it back in 2016. Right, because really it first came out on the internet in like mid to late 2015, but in 2016 was when everybody started talking about that. And back then you'd actually get a fair search result. Excuse my stutter. If you search it up in the YouTube search bar, right? But today, if you type in the term flat Earth, the first 100, 200 pages of the things that pop up due to your search, all they are is videos or information trying to debunk the flat Earth and make it look stupid. You'll never come across one anymore that makes it look somewhat reasonable and presents reasonable arguments against the globe. But back in 2016, you were able to just look up the word flat Earth on YouTube, and you could get a handful of videos promoting the idea, and then a handful of videos trying to debunk the idea. But today, all you get is videos trying to refute the flat Earth theory, which is really not a theory anymore. I mean, if you still think it's going to be 2023 in just a couple of days here. So if you still think that that you're living on a rock that's spinning 1,000 miles an hour, 2023, you're just damn fool at that point, man. And realistically speaking, it's like, well, how did you know that exactly? And any reasonable person who wouldn't lie, they'd say the reason they know, or quote unquote know, that the Earth is a globe is, one, due to what they learned in when they went to school, or two, would be the information they're getting from these space agencies, right? These governmental space agencies. That could be the second option. Or three, they just believe that because that's what they were told by, well, pretty much since they were growing up. Other people who held the same belief told them that, and they just repeated the lie because that's what they were told. And obviously, of course, you wouldn't think a child, when they're first are taught the theory, you wouldn't think that they'd be on any type of level to question that. I sure in all hell know that I wasn't. Hell, I can remember even today, sitting in the classroom, and when the teacher was teaching us about the globe, she turned the lights off in the classroom. She grabbed the globe off the counter, and she grabbed a flashlight, and she was using the flashlight to represent the sun, right? So she shined the flashlight above the world, and it's like, look, well, on this side of the world, this is how it's day and night, right? The Earth is rotating, and the sun shines on this side of the world, and the moon's on the opposite side of the world, right? And how they demonstrate that? Well, in the instance that I was taught that, they did the process I just told you. Turn the lights off, grab the globe, use the flashlight to represent the sun, and that's the proof, right? That's the proof of how it works. At least that's all I learned about it. So again, it's either that, or out of the school textbook, or even now they might have animated cartoons to demonstrate it. But outside of those three, there's no evidence to support that it's true. And everybody just believes it because that's what they were told. But it's not something that can be, proven by fact. It's just, that's the mainstream science narrative. Mainstream science is fraudulent. Hell, I don't know about you. It's like, wait a second. Isn't it funny that when this whole Corolla thing came out, it took them maybe about a year, right, 10 months to a year, to get a vaccine, right, a vaccine. I had to use code language. You know what I'm talking about. For this Corolla thing, and all these dumbass out here, they all lined up and took that shit. It's like, wait a second. It's like, so they don't know the long-term effects from putting this chemical inside of people's bodies. And then you simps out here are going to go line up willingly. Most of these people lined up and willingly took it without any type of incentive. Because at one point they were giving away like, what, a couple $100s to people that went and took it. Or another thing they were doing is, if you went and got those boosters, or as Mina Shreg will call them, those roosters, got to use code language, right? But if you went and got those roosters, you'd be entered into a raffle to win like, $100,000, maybe $1 million, something like that, right? So people that went and got these roosters, they get their name, thrown into a raffle, a lottery raffle. And all you had to do to enter into the raffle was you just had to line up and get those roosters. So you got to think about it. It's like, if those in power over the world, if they didn't really care if you took it or not, it's like, well, why would they give people, offer people money and other, rewards for lining up and taking this shit? It's like, obviously there's a plan behind it. And if you know anything about the Illuminati card game, look that up on Google. It came out in 1994. And, in this card game, there's a lot of stuff in there, man. They show you the, 9/11s in there. And again, this came out in came out in 1994. It's called the Illuminati card game. Look it up on Google. There's like 1,000 cards in there or something like that. Which a lot of those cards, man, if you if you look at them, some of them line up with world events that happen, since the 90s up till, the current day. Then there's some that look like it's going to happen in the future. Like there's a World War III card in there, right? It's an artificial intelligence card, right? Merging man with machinery, right? We know that's in the scriptures, right? That RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast. But the reason I'm bringing this up is if you look in the cards, just look it up yourself. Don't believe what I'm telling you. If you look up the card game, there's a card in there. It's called, I believe it's called Epidemic or something like that, or Pandemic. I have to watch the words I use. But look that up, and you're gonna see it. It's a card on there. It literally has the syringe. It has the face mask. It has, and it's literally called that. So I'm not even joking. Look it up. It's true. And that card came out in the 90s. So here it is. Here we are, 20-some years later, and and that really happened. And again, 9/11's in the cards. It's like, well, what are the odds? Say, for an example, if it was just a card game, right, that just picked random things. It's like, well, what are the odds of there being certain of the cards that lined up with world events that took place after the cards were created? Like, it'd be one thing if it was beforehand, right, if these events happened and then the card game was created after, then that's one thing, right, nothing of significance. But the fact that the cards were created before the world events, that's pretty weird right there. So it clearly shows that, something weird's going on, man. Hell, then nobody's going to talk about how around the world you have something called, what do they call this? A sudden adult death syndrome or something like that. You have millions of people around the world just dropping over, right, falling over dead, having a heart attack for no reason, right? Young, healthy people. It's like, what the hell is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. These roosters that, all these people have took over the last couple of years, it's killing everyone. That's what's going on. And the fact that people can't see that it boggles the mind. And then you have this one cat on the comic board, which he actually, tried to defend me in Bible Defender against the minus Shreg. But then, what he'll do is he'll take the minus Shreg side when you're dealing with the mark, Revelation 13:16. It'll be like, well, how can you in Bible Defender not see that the mark is these yabs that people are taking? How can you guys not see that? You guys are just repeating what GMS said about the mark being a microchip. You guys are just repeating what GMS said. It's like, no, just to correct you, I've learned about the mark of the beast being the microchip. I learned that 9 years ago from Seventh-day Adventist, is where I learned that from. On YouTube, by the way. On YouTube from Seventh-day Adventist that taught on YouTube. Such as, I'll give you an example, a character named Wayne Levi Price. His YouTube channel is named The Tribulation Saints. Look him up. Which he goes off, but at least on that one topic he is correct on. Bear with me a second. So yeah, just to correct that character, what was it, Jack Burton or something like that? Cat's name was Jack Burton. But yeah, I can't speak for Bible Defender, but me speaking from myself, I learned that on YouTube from a Seventh-day Adventist. And it just so happened when it started to get into the, what GMS is doing, it just so happened that they also taught the same thing. Like, I'll give you another example. I learned 9 years ago that America was Mystery Babylon. I didn't learn that from Hebrew Israelites. It just so happened that they also taught the same thing. I learned that from Christians. All right, so hell, when I knew about those things, I didn't even know that there were people going around calling themselves Hebrew Israelites. I didn't even know that such a thing like that even existed, say 9 years ago. I didn't know that. So I learned about those subjects before I even knew it. There were Hebrew Israelite camps that even existed. So for you to make a statement and say, we're just saying that to copy GMS, well, you are mistaken with that conclusion that you came to. So yeah, it's just, it's ridiculous, some of the nonsense that these people are teaching out here, man. Oh, let me even tell you something. I was on the stream the other day on, what's this channel? Catherine Wiley, something like that. But she's a partial preterist, right? She doesn't believe that Christ was the Messiah, but then she does accept certain parts of the Bible. So it's like, wait a second. So I went on there the other day, and I called them. When I clicked the link, these guys are on there talking about wallpaper and shit. It's like, wait a second, what the hell are you guys doing on here talking about, what type of color of wallpaper you like? It's like, so you guys aren't aware that World War III is about to get started? It's like, isn't that worth the time to talk about instead of what type of wallpaper that you guys like? It's like, damn. It's ridiculous. But these are the religious teachers, right? The religious leaders that are out here on the internet. It's just ridiculous. Listen to some of these cats. And then what's this other guy? Nathaniel, right? Nathaniel, which is the what is this guy? The leader of what is it? IUIC, right? Israel United in Christ, which is a popular Hebrew Israelite camp. I believe they have 20,000 members around the world, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but they're a very popular organization. Hebrew Israelites. And Nathaniel's sitting on there on stream talking about, there's no such thing as Jacob's trouble, right? There's no such thing as the tribulation. What the hell is this guy talking about? Nothing as the Great Tribulation. No time of Jacob's trouble. What the hell is this guy talking about? And these simps on the comment board, they'll just go around and repeat what these jokers are on here saying. And then you have these other guys, right? What are these characters? ISUPK, right? Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge is what it stands for. They're on there. They'll tell you that the mark is talking about a embargo, which it basically deals with. Basically, what that deals with is nations trading with other nations is what a embargo is. Right. So they'll tell you that's the mark. No, that don't make no damn sense. as if you read it, it deals with every man. So it's like, wait, if it's every man, well, how is it just countries being able to, trade with other countries? That doesn't make any sense. So as I said, man, you got to be careful with some of the Hebrew Israelite camps that you follow out here, man, because some of them might teach you things that are correct, but then they go off on other topics. Like, say for an example, ISUPK and what is that camp called? Israel United in Christ, IUIC, which is the camp I first talked about. They'll teach you certain things which are correct about the Bible. They'll teach you that Christ is a so-called black man. They'll teach you that. They'll teach you to follow the law. They'll teach you that the Apocrypha is part of the canon. They'll teach you that, America's Babylon. They'll teach you that, Christ is going to return. They'll teach you all those things, but then they'll go off here or there. Right? So you want to stay clear of those groups, man. Like, I said before, based off of my, years of listening to these groups out here, the one group I got to give credit to the most out of all of them, man, is GMS, right? Greatmillstone. With Elder Apostle Dahar as the top head. Of course, there's the Apostle Gabar, Ramla Ben Rakah, right? But they're under Apostle Dahar. So yeah, GMS, right, starting with Elder Apostle Dahar on down, I got to give them, credit, because they're the number one Hebrew Israelite camp out there. And I've been saying that for years, right? That GMS, Greatmillstone, is the number one Hebrew Israelite camp that is out there. Now, does that mean I 100% agree with every subject they teach? I'm sure there's two subjects that we might see differently, such as the flat earth topic or Romans 13. But off the top of the head, I believe that's the only two subjects that I would disagree with GMS about. Other than those two, I believe them down with everything else they're saying, other than those two topics. Like, say for example, if I was to say two things I disagree with them about, those are the only two things that could come to mind off the top of the head, if you get what I'm saying. Whereas Sakari, which for those who don't know, Sakari is a break off of GMS, right? What are these cats? Deacon Hakah and Chief Priest Alazar, right? The current ruling Chief High Priest, as he calls himself. He was in GMS, right? So they learned under GMS, and then they broke off and they did their own thing. That's what they did. They learned under the apostles, but then they broke off and did their own thing, which I'll give them credit. They're deep, but they're not challenger deep, right? That's the difference. You could have a guy who's deep, but then there's a difference between being deep, like surface level deep, right? There's a difference between being surface level deep versus being what I call challenger deep, which is the deepest that you can get. So that's how you got to look at it, man. Some of them, they'll give you good information on some topics, but then they go off on other topics. Like, I'll give you an example. Sakari is on there teaching that man was created on the 5th day, when the Bible says that man was created on the 6th day. So that's that's definitely a point of contention. That's one thing that they're all for. Among a few other things. So as I said, the one that's more so in line with the scriptures would be GMS out of all of these Hebrew Israelite camps. And because somebody's going to be like, oh, he's just saying that to copycat GMS. He's just saying that, regurgitating whatever GMS says. No, that's not true. Unlike most people, I've actually read the Holy Bible front to back multiple times. In fact, I'd argue and say that I've read the Bible more times than 99% of the humans on the earth. And that's not no flex, that's just reality. Now what does that mean? That means, say for an example, because just like I was even telling Eddie this the other day, which he's like a Christian, he holds the same Christian views, so he came on, we having a discussion, and he was, to make a long story short, what he was basically telling us is some of the beliefs that he held about the Bible. So when he hears what we're telling him, he's saying that, it's hard to digest all of that because it goes against what he was taught. And I told him, it's like, okay, cool. Well, I used to believe everything that you believed about the Bible at one point, right? I used to believe that salvation was for everybody. I used to believe that Jesus was the Most High God. I used to believe that. I used to believe that, hell, I used to believe the world was a globe. I used to believe that. I used to believe that, what else did I believe? That God loves everyone, that Satan's the one that creates evil, that Jesus was a so-called Caucasian. But guess what? Then when I read the Bible, once I read the Bible, I found out that what I believed about the Bible was incorrect. So what I did with that is I took the information that the apostles were telling me, right, and I took that information and I looked into it and came to the conclusion that I had a misinterpretation of the Bible. Say, for an example, when I first heard these guys on there talking about, that there's no such place where people go called hell when they die, I was like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Because when I heard that was like a crazy idea, because I always, was raised with the idea, that if you're wicked, you could die and go to hell. Right? I used to believe that idea, but once I heard these guys saying that that's false, I was like, wait, what the hell are these guys talking about? But then what I did is I took the information they were giving me and I looked into it, and lo and behold, I was misinformed about the subject in the Bible based on the new information that they presented me. So I took their information, I looked in the Bible, and confirmed the information as true. So, it's that's what you got to do sometimes, man. You got to look into the scriptures, because there's a lot of false doctrines that are out here, especially right now, man. Hell, these cats, going back over to what's these dudes? The ISUPK. Hell, Captain Cesariak, which is like one of the leaders of that group, he came on stream and was like, hey, look, I went and I took the yabs, right? I lined up and took the yab. Why did I do that? And again, I'm speaking from his perspective. Why'd I do that? Oh, it was just because I didn't want people to be scared to take it. It's like, wait a second, what? So you lined up and took this juice just so your people that listen to you, they wouldn't be afraid to get it because they saw you go take it. What type of foolery is that? But these are the leaders of our people, though, right? Ridiculous, man. These are the clowns, right? The phony balonies that you want ruling over you, right? Or ruling over you as far as you being in their camp. So if you're in their camp, you have to be subject to the rules and their regulations that they put upon you within their organization. And if you don't abide by their rules and their organization, then your ass is out. That's just how it works. So again, you want these guys ruling over you, but yet they're sitting there talking about, well, I went and took the yab so people won't be afraid to get it. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Ridiculous. But these are the kind of jokers that are out here, man. These are the kind of jokers that are quote unquote in the truth, because they're somewhat in the truth. Again, they might be deep on certain levels, but they're not challenger deep. Let me give you an example. Every Hebrew Israelite is deep compared to a Christian, right? Every Hebrew Israelite is deep, but there's a problem. Just because you're deep, that doesn't mean you're too deep, all right? You can be one deep, but I'm over here going too deep, if that makes sense. Okay, so again, there is a difference between the level of deepness inside joke, right? So some of these cats, I'll give them credit, right? Some of these camps are very deep when it comes to the scriptures on certain subject matters, but then they're not challenger deep. Because that's like the ultimate level of being deep. And for anybody that's asking, well, where do we get that term from? Which we should know, but Challenger Deep is the deepest part of the Mariana Trench in the ocean. And the reason why it's named Challenger Deep is because the submarine the mission that what's his character, James Cameron, right? James Cameron. He went in a submarine that they made for him to travel down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, right? So the shuttle that he went down there in was called Challenger, or excuse me, was called the Challenger. So that's why they called the that level of the ocean a Challenger. So that's like the ultimate level of being deep is what that means. So anyway, I hope that video is edifying. I just wanted to comment on a couple subject matters, but I'm going to say shalom.